The Brandon Aiyuk situation kind of settled itself. The Niners put him on the reserve or the pup or whatever you want to call it, the injured list for the rest of the season. So he's not going to see the field. And after the press conference today, Kyle Shanahan said the reason that they did is because they just haven't seen him in a long time. So he hasn't been at headquarters, and it sounds like there's been little or no communication. And I think we were hoping once kind of we saw the writing on the wall, it's like, well, they're going to cut him. Maybe he'll play. I don't think you and I thought he was going to play, but there was like some wondery about that. Is he going to play? And it's done. He is unable to play. The divorce is going to happen in the offseason. It's the last we've seen Brandon Aiyuk in a 49ers jersey. Really unfortunate the way that it happened, and I'm sure someone will do the reporting after the season is over as far as exactly what happened and why it happened and how it happened and who's at fault. And then depending on who does the writing, you'll have to discern whether that writer is a little closer to the ownership side or a little closer to the player side. So we'll have to play that game. But I'm bummed because it didn't necessarily need to happen this way, but the communication and the expectation and everything just wasn't there, and we're not going to see this guy really show out. He's in the prime of his career, and he would have been Brock Purdy's number one target, and he probably, if they would have continued to play together, he's probably having great seasons with the Niners. And now you did all of that to stay with him. He got hurt, and it's all for naught because you didn't even trade him, and now you get nothing except for maybe some cap money, cap relief help, but then you got the dead money thing. So it's just a unfortunate experience, and just sad that it happened the way that it did, because I wanted to see this dude play football, but it's not happening.
What I want to hear the reporting on is if, and I like you said, you'll have to take any of the reporting with a grain of salt. But I want to know, and even reading between the lines, you can figure this out. If they realized that they had checkmated themselves when they voided that guaranteed money, because they were playing it out like he might be coming back. He might be coming back. We can open the window. He might be coming back. But let's be realistic. If he had no guaranteed money going forward from as far back as July, there was no way in hell he was ever. Why would he play or practice with no money guaranteed going forward? That doesn't make any sense to me. So my question is, was the voiding a knee-jerk reaction to something specific and they hadn't thought it out? Because my thought is, even if you decide that you want to move on, if you leave that carrot there, it puts you in a position where, look, you know what it is, we know what it is. But if you come back, you've got this $27 million that you are assured to get. So that's a little bit of security. If you come back, you get to, you know, show the league that you're back. And we are in a position where we can at least get something for you. That all went out the window. Once I found out that that money was gone since back in July, it didn't surprise. I'm surprised he showed up at all. I mean, because they completely de-incentivized him playing at all. And I've been having these arguments for the last 3 days. Well, as a man, he got that $24 million, and he should, man, shit, I got that. I already got that. There's no incentive for me to move from here. I got the 24 million. I cannot, literally, as we see, I cannot play and have that and just get ready for some combine situation and head on into free agency. I have thoughts on this, so I'm sorry. Well, I'll get to the game in a minute, but
Oh, well, yeah,
the
this is kind I mean, the game is what it was, and this is kind of, it's going to be a story for a little while, so I think it's important because we didn't get to talk about this last week, so go ahead, continue, and I have a thought
and,
on your thought too.
and then my second thought is Ryan Williams is the best agent in football, maybe even professional sports. Let's recap what he was able to do. While under contract, he somehow kind of conjures up a trade market for his client and has bidders, gets contract offers, gets trade offers while he's under contract. So he basically has a mini free agency. Niners decide that they don't want the 3 and the 4. Which is again another sidebar. There has always seemed to be a disconnect with what they felt his trade value was versus what his actual value was. I remember in March, the notion was that what they wanted with Pittsburgh was 2 1s, which is franchise money, which just objectively says you think that his contract should be the average of the top 5 receivers in the league. But that's not what you wanted to pay him.
Mhm.
But that's what you thought your compensation for trading him should be. That just doesn't make any sense. So then I want to wrap this up quick. So then his contract is signed, gets hurt. He gets $48 million to rehab. And then, depending on how the story goes, because I don't know, this is conjecture at this point,
Mhm.
did they finesse the team into voiding that contract and, in essence, making him he got $48 million to rehab and then finesse them into voiding that money and, in essence, making him an unrestricted free agent, which is crazy because I've had this again. I've discussed this all week. So again, well, he's not a free agent. Well, look, where did voiding that money leave us? It left us with a contract that has zero value. Because when you take the guaranteed money look at it, if you look at it like this next season, he's like scheduled to play for $1 million because it was a low base salary with the 24 million in guaranteed money, which made it make sense. There's no way in hell anybody's trading for a contract that pays him $1 million next year because he's not going to play on it. So
Mhm.
why would I trade for a contract problem when I could just wait until June 1st or whenever you release him, and then we can just start our relationship fresh. And it can be lovebirds and I can woo him. I don't want to start our relationship with that old baggage. So you're not trading it. So there's that. And no matter how you might try to create some sort of leverage, well, this contract, because I saw something that Lombardi, reported something like that um, a few weeks ago. Is that, well, without the guaranteed money now, the Niners might be interested in just keeping him. They're not doing this for another year. You know you're not doing it for another year. The entire league knows you're not doing this for another year. So now you're not going to trade him. You're not going to keep him. So you have to release him. So this has been an unmitigated disaster for this front office, and I would love somebody like Bill Simmons. I know he's not local, but whoever the equivalent, we don't really. I mean, I guess Kawakami would be somebody who I would trust that could do something that I would, because like Silver, I mean, he's got the access, but
Yeah,
you have to.
Tim's not going to write something just because Jed York is gonna be happy that he writes it. Tim is actually gonna
Right.
be the opposite. He's gonna be like, "Wait, if Jed York is happy I'm writing this, then this is probably wrong." Like, that's how he thinks as a journalist. Okay, so,
Right.
what I was thinking very similar to how you're laying it out. I think it's one of 2 things, and they're probably related in some way. Now, here's what I don't know. Let's say BA was healthy.
Uh-huh.
He's under contract. He's healthy. What has to happen in which he is forced to come back to play football? Like what are the scenarios in which the Niners go, we are, we want this guy to play. Our doctors say that he's healthy and he is refusing to play. What happens in that scenario? And I'm not saying that that's happened, but I'm wondering where the who's got the leverage in that scenario.
Well, that you would be right if at any point he was medically cleared, but that hasn't happened.
Right.
So that that's a non-starter. And they've been talking about, again, they talk about acting like a spurned lover. They released something yesterday or the day before, they run together, talking about they are preparing to go after that $48 million signing bonus, which is crazy because if you look at the CBA, it's Section 4, Article 4, Section 9, which covers recouping or forfeiture of bonus money. There's only four scenarios where that could happen. If he retires, think Barry Sanders. If
Mhm.
he retires voluntarily, they have the right to to go after that money. If he gets hurt with a non-football injury, there was an Atlanta Falcon who got hurt riding ATVs and gave up his money.
Sure.
Um, After Aaron Hernandez, because fun fact, they were able, after a 7-year court battle, they didn't have to pay his widow the $2 million that they withheld, but they could not give back the $6 million that they had already given him
Mhm.
until now. So now that changes me. So if you get incarcerated, that is a reason for them to be able to come back and recoup that money. And then the fourth one is holdout. If you hold out, they can go after that money. But according to the CBA, those are the only four scenarios that allow you to go after that money. So number one, he was hurt on the job, so that's a non-starter. And then if you wanted to make a beef about him not playing, he hasn't been cleared. So he he could not, even if he wanted to come play or come practice, he would not be able to because he has not received medical clearance to do so.
Okay,
So
who's doing the clearing though? Is it his personal
that's the
doctor?
thing.
Is it the
I would
49ers personal doctor? Because if it's the 49ers doctor and he's not at headquarters, how do they communicate whether or not he can actually play?
I don't know the machinations of
Mhm.
that, which is how it kind of got murky here because spend a lot of time with the CPA. It gets real murky in terms of what you're able to do in terms of a player's um medical care. That was a big thing with Christian Wilkins with the Raiders, in that the breakdown with they felt he should have surgery. His doctors told him that he could rest and do physical therapy. And there was just loggerheads there. And I know that the ruling came back that they can't make him have surgery. That's not something
Right.
that is within the purview of their contract, is for them to dictate his how he cares for his injury. So that's interesting. Now it's interesting in terms of reporting and being here, and there's fines and things that can be asserted with that. So if the contract says he has to do XYZ for rehab and he doesn't do that, there might be fines involved, but that does not in and of itself rise to the level of you being able to void a
Right,
contract
right,
and
right.
take money back. That would be extremely punitive for that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. And the two things that when this first came out a month ago that were interesting to me was, one, that this happened way back in January and July, and then two, that they made no attempt to file a grievance.
Mhm.
Apparently, the NFLPA was that this was an alley-oop grievance for them, but BA's team didn't want it, which appears to me like there was a forfeiture of $27 million in order to facilitate his release in
Yep.
unrestricted free agency, which I know fans hate that reading of it. But if that is the case, that is another brilliant move by his agent. Because can you imagine how many dudes in the league right now, if they could forfeit their guaranteed money to be an unrestricted free agent, they would pay for that deal because, like you say, he's 27 years old,
Mhm.
and there are like 7 or 8 teams that need true X receivers. And so he'll be the best on the market. And then the question that that has to be asked, well, is he healthy? My answer to that is based on all that you've seen by the way his agent operates. If he truly wasn't healthy, why don't you go after that $27 million as um a retirement gift? If you really believe that he's not going to be the same, you're not as you're trying. I believe I would be fighting for that $27 million, especially in a case where it's there. They have no recourse for taking that money. It was the appeal or the grievance. It was a slam dunk. The 49ers would have lost that, but they was like, nah, we good. We all right with them voiding it because that means it's over
Yeah.
in essence, which
So
at this point it is.
so my take is that, and who knows really who kind of pulled the trigger on what. And it's quite possible that the Niners saw what was going on and they're like, "You know what? Like, it is going to be better for us to get out of this contract too. So we're going to let all of this happen the way that they want it to happen." But the one thing that the Niners are really good at doing is shaping the narrative on the way out.
Hmm.
And we only have to go back to Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick, two of the biggest things in a row where the player on the way out or the coach on the way out just got trashed to holy hell because of the way that it happened. So we know that the Niners are capable of that. So it's quite possible that they were okay with it because they also get the relief of having to deal with him. Yeah, they got hosed out of that money, and they may feel some sort of way about that. But looking ahead, they may be like, look, this is better for us in the long term, or at least in the immediate future, because they're trying to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years. And then they're going to have to play this restart game once those 2 or 3 years is over. And so if they look at it from that perspective, we got a 3-year shot. If we continue to fight this thing, then he's not going to play and it's just going to be a distraction. Let's get out of this. Maybe they think he's possibly damaged goods and they're like, we can get out of this. And then on as he leaves, we're going to trash him on the way out and you know which probably I mean, I don't know how well that works considering he's such a young player, but trying to cause some sort of harm to his leverage in free agency. They did it with Kaepernick, but that was a league-wide situation. You had the president of the United States saying, "Don't sign this dude." So that is a different scenario, but that is not below the 49ers to do stuff like that. So I kind of expect that to happen. But I do think it is probably a cut our losses because this guy just does not want to be here. But then you go back to could they if they could go back in time to that moment where they had the Steelers on the phone, I'm sure they just say, okay, we're trading him no matter what. Like that's just what we have to do. Knowing what they know now, you probably don't play this hand again, and you do that trade at that point. But it is unfortunate, but this is also the NFL. This happens in the NFL because of the way the contracts are structured. Some people, I mean, just look at the Micah Parsons situation. All the drama and surrounding that deal, and then he gets traded to Green Bay Unfortunately, he actually got hurt today. It looks like he may be
Mhm.
done for the season. But, these players, in order to kind of dictate the scenario, they do kind of have to stick their neck out in ways that may not make them very popular because the fan bases are so pro team in almost all of these scenarios. But yeah, it's an ugly thing, and I'm sure BA's popularity may take a hit in getting out the way that he did, but all he has to do is go out there and get 85 catches for 1,200 yards, and he's back in the good graces of his team and of the fans of that team, and that's kind of how the league works. So, I don't hope that he does poorly. I know there are people who want him to do poorly, but this is just the business side of the NFL that's always so tricky.